We good? I think we're good. We might be good. Let me pop you back up here really quick. Where'd my docs? There we are. Okay, we good? I think we're set. Let me pop in here really quick. Let me make sure that my yeah.
I'm so sorry. When the exterminator came in, did he spray around where the water fountain is too?
No, he didn't go by the table.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure so that they weren't drinking it. Okay,
Yeah.
bye. Sorry.
Are we up? I think we're up. Because now I'm just sitting here. Let me make sure that for the time being, if you'd like to hop in chat really quick, tell me how your guys' 2 weeks have been, how the past 2 weeks have gone for y'all. And God, I'm moving around everything right now. I have had a very eventful past 2 weeks, to say the least. Let me go ahead and share this really quick. I'm going to pop in here. Really quick, bang, bang. Everything's fine. Don't worry. Move you a little bit closer too. That way you can hear me better. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? There you are. Got a chat right there. I don't need it. Okay. We're gonna go in here and go. How has your guys? How have, there we go. We're gonna go like this. How have you guys been the past 2, scene selection. 2 weeks. I miss you. Yeah. Solid. Where's my little... There. Bang. Bang. Good? Sending in chat. So yeah, we're gonna start off first couple minutes. Again, as always, wait for some people to come in here. But yeah, just tell me how you guys have been. Because, like I said, I've had a very eventful past couple weeks, to say the least. So, make sure that's good. Set. Everything should be fine. Let me grab this. And for the, 4th week in a row now, trying to finish up this interior. Again, can't get over the color that I've picked out for all of this. Can't show that. That's for a future video. No future videos being given away here. Oh, it's because my interior bits are in the other box. Silly goose. So yeah, like week 4 of me trying to finish up this interior. I'm gonna go ahead and share it as well. So that everybody can see. We'll go ahead and put you up here as well. just going to come over here and I'm going to share this really quick. It wouldn't let me share it before I went live, which was a little off. But I'm going to see if I can't. Just go in here and do it this way. Also, goal of mine. I'd like to get this stream to 15 likes. That would definitely make it a personal best, like stream wise. Let's get the stream to 15 likes. 15 likes is very, very doable. So if you want to start liking it up, that way we can get those rolling. And we're going to mute you really quick. I just need to share it. It won't let me. So a couple of you were asking, like a couple of weeks ago when I was trying to stream about the John Cooper, which that was a very good live stream. I did end up having to take it down. But yeah, so the problem was I'm starting to stream through OBS now, so I can switch in between the scenes that you're seeing here. That way I can go back and forth and I can show you guys my stream. Hello, Steph. Welcome to the party. But yeah, so I'm streaming through OBS now so that I can show you guys my screen if I'm ever like referencing something or if I just want to like Google something. If somebody wants to fact check me. But the problem is it was pulling like my desktop audio for some reason, even though I had it muted. And I tried messing with the settings and then I had to end the stream and then start over. It was a big deal. So I think I've got it settled now. The only problem now is there's like a little bit of a delay. So if you like say something in chat, I see it immediately, but you won't hear me responding to it for about like 20 to 30 seconds. So I'm not ignoring your messages, by the way. So go ahead and chat it up. Go ahead and go down and chat and message me as much as you want. I will see it. So don't worry. I see all of it. Hang out with me while I talk about my medical journey with my Can I just say, let's just say like, hang out with me while I talk about my medical journey. Sorry, again, I usually try to get the stuff set up like beforehand, before I'm live, but it wasn't, now that I'm streaming through OBS, it wouldn't let me share it, which was kind of weird, and then YouTube Studio is also being kind of whack right now, so I'm going the long way about it. While I talk about my medical journey with Sprengels. Yeah. Post. I'm that guy. UDG, welcome to the chat, as always. For those of you watching, UDG, I'm that guy. He's going to be part of this. One of these days, we got a couple things in the works. So that's one thing I did want to talk about as just like a general life update. Yes, Leah, hello as well. General life update. The reason I haven't been posting as much is number one, I wanted to get a lot better with this whole like live streaming thing. And I'm that guy. I applaud you to the fullest extent. UDG Nation. Uh, Live streaming is a whole other beast in itself. It's a whole other beast. I've kind of talked about it in past streams, but yeah, live streaming is definitely something, that's for sure. So I've been focusing a lot more on just live streaming in general, and as you can see, because I've uploaded 2 or 3 live streams per regular video that I upload. Again, just because I want to get better at it. But then number two, I have some very big things in the work. There are some pretty big things coming to the Jesse Bussy YouTube channel. So be sure to be on the lookout for that, because I've got a few things planned that are definitely in the works. Again, reiterating, the stream goal today is we are going to, for like friggin' the 4th week in a row, we're going to get as much of this interior done as possible. Seats and everything are pretty much done. We can see the, oh my god, we can see the black and brown interior is really starting to come together. I'm basically going to use this stream as like touch-ups and making sure everything looks great. And then we can start gluing some of these seats and stuff together as well, because these seat backs are already painted. Those were just straight up silver. But then just for the regular seats, you can see there are a couple spots that I'm definitely missing on there. So we're gonna try and get those taken care of as well. Also, this dash piece here, after we get done kind of touching up the seats, we're going to work on the dash. So we can see we have kind of the black outline, and as always, we're going to kind of touch it up, make sure it looks nice and pretty, get all the little details on the inside of it as much as possible to the best of our abilities. And then again, stream goal today is 15 total likes. That would make it the most liked stream that I've done thus far. So, without further ado, getting into the subject of today's matter is me. We're gonna switch it up a little bit. We're not talking about cars or other people this time. I'm gonna talk about myself a little bit. So with me, for those of you that are close in my life, you already know. But for people that either watch me or know me from outside of just personal relationships, I have a deformity, I think is what it's technically called. It's not technically a birth defect because it is hereditary. I usually just say birth defect just for ease of conversation. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. There. That way I'm not washed out the way that I am right now. Look a little better. Teeny tiny bit. But it's starting to get grainy. I'll turn it up. One click. So for ease of most conversations, I usually just say it's a birth defect because it's a lot easier to say birth defect. Like most people kind of understand birth defect more than they do deformity. But because, again, my shoulder condition, Sprengel's syndrome, is hereditary, meaning it's passed down. I got it from my lovely mother, and she got it from her father, and so on and so forth. But because it is passed down, it is technically a deformity, not a birth defect. So what it does is it causes your shoulder blades, so rather than your shoulder blades being kind of here, like they're supposed to be, just flat against your back, mine are actually turned up, and that causes them to push forward. And so that's why, if you've ever noticed, my shoulder does this, and the rest of me does this. And this right here, if you can see it on camera, kind of, this all the way up here is actually like the top of my shoulder blade. So my shoulder blades are very, very high compared to most other people and stuff. Hence why I actually wear black clothing for the most part. Also for like sweat reasons, but yeah, for the most part, that and then like hoodies. I wear hoodies a lot for pretty much the same reason. Um, but yeah, so it's kind of just something that um, very luck of the draw ish, if you want to call it that. I don't know what kind of genetic lottery I won, but you know it's part of it. You know this is the these are the cards that I was dealt. So I mean it's not like I can really do anything about it. You know. Um, but yeah, so it actually didn't become very prevalent until I started like maturing, if you will, if you know what I mean. So once I started maturing around junior high ish, that's kind of when the signs began. And then it's just kind of progressively gotten incrementally worse all the time since then. Um, but again, it's just kind of one of those things I've learned to deal with. And the only thing it really, like, it does cause me a sense of kind of like constant pain, but it's not a weird, like, it's a weird kind of pain, and it's also kind of hard to describe to a lot of people. But it's not necessarily like, I think I'm going to start with black, actually. Yeah, well, I might do the brown first. I'm going to go and do brown first. I lied. But it's kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. But yeah, so junior high-ish, when I started maturing, is really when the signs started showing themselves. But yeah, so it's kind of one of those things that I've just learned to live with, and the pain. That's what I was saying, right? The pain. It's weird. It's not like a crippling pain, like for the most part. Now, granted, yes, some days are worse than others. That's for sure. But that also goes for anything. You know, anybody that has any kind of like knee injury. I'm that guy. If you're in chat, in all of your years of wrestling, if you got a knee injury or something, some days are worse than others, or just in general, if you have any kind of injury. Cold definitely does it. And it's actually funny. So, because of it, I have scar tissue under my shoulder blades and on top of my shoulder blades, but it's still scar tissue that's under the skin. And for anybody that's ever flown before, anybody that's ever gone on like flights and stuff, if you have scar tissue, it will set off metal detectors. And so it's kind of a funny story when that happens, because a few times that I've gone flying now, I'm not an avid flyer by any means, but the few times that I have been on like commercial flights and stuff like that, in order to go through the metal detector, you have to lift your arms above your head so that it can scan your body properly. But that's the other issue, is I can't lift my arms above my head. So that's always something that kind of has to be explained whenever I go through airport security, because people at airport security love their job so much, you know? Again, for anybody that's ever gone through an airport. But they'll be like, sir, you got to lift your arms above your head. And I'm like, that's all I got. And I'm literally like, here, like that's all I can do. And so they're like, sir, you need a rate. And I'm like, I can't. This is all I've got. And then finally, that's when I'm like, I have a medical condition. And that's when they're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, just stay where you are then. It's like, oh, so now you don't have a problem with it. Gotcha. Okay. So, fun fact, if you ever don't want to raise your arms for any reason, or just want to get out of some stuff, you could just say that you have a undisclosed medical condition. Because nobody ever asks for proof, because then they don't want to look like the bad guy. Like, oh, we'll prove that you have a medical condition. I might do black on the sides. But yeah, so whenever I finally do go through the metal detector, after the whole raise your arms ordeal, uh, it'll set off the metal detector because of the scar tissue that's under my skin. So then they'll make me step off to the side, and then they'll like just start. They'll look at the screen, because it'll show like little boxes of where it's detecting like objects or whatever, and they'll just start like feeling my shoulders, and they'll like start grabbing my shoulder blades and like grabbing up and around my shoulder, and they're like, I think you're fine, because like it's not like you can hide anything back there. It's not like it's in your crack or anything like that, like who's gonna hide something on the back of their shoulder blades? So that's always one thing that's funny. But yeah, it's as far as like the pain is concerned, it's a weird, like, I'm sitting here trying to like concentrate and think about it so I can describe it. Like I haven't tried describing it 1,000 times in the past. But the shoulder pain, it's a weird, like, it's almost like having sore muscles because everything is constantly under tension. So everything is constantly like pulling against itself. And so it's not like, oh, it's a sharp pain if I move my arm too quick or something. Like it's just kind of something that's always there. And then the biggest thing out of everything with it is just mobility in general. So like I was saying, cannot, I can't lift my arms above my head or lift my arms hardly at all. And so one of the jokes that I've kind of said consistently throughout my life is it sucks being tall and having Sprengel syndrome because people ask for you to reach stuff on the top shelf, but I can't reach it either. And so one of the jokes that my girlfriend says, which I might actually have her tell it, but oh, whatever. She's in chat. My girlfriend's in chat. But one of the jokes that my girlfriend always makes is that she can't put things out of her reach because it'll also be out of my reach. And even though there's a like whole foot in height difference between the two of us, we both can only raise our arms about the same height. And so, and on a bad day, she can actually lift her arms higher than I can. So, but yeah, it's just kind of one of the things that I've learned to live with. Yeah, she heard it. But yeah, so those are kind of the big things, and then kind of the things that I like didn't sign up for necessarily. Let me turn my phone on vibrate. I try not to be distracted during my live streams. That's the reason I put my phone on silent. I've got it down here so I can read chat as well. So go ahead and chat it up. Like I've said before, keep chatting. You're more than welcome. There's a couple of you, like there's quite a few of you in here right now. Also, reiterating, stream goal is 15 likes. So that would make this the most liked stream. So just go right below the stream and literally just hit the like button, because then it'll promote it to other people, and those people will also hit the like button. So yeah, hit the like button right below the stream. I just want to try it. I'm not like itching for content or anything like that. But yeah, so one of the things that I didn't realize was going to come with it was the stuff that is not shoulder related. Um, so, yes, there is the shoulder problems, but again, as kind of previously mentioned, it affects pretty much like the rest of my upper body, like my pretty much the entire rib cage up is has some kind of effect because of it. Especially like the back side of my rib cage, like on my actual back, it's very concaved because my shoulders are turned in, so it's causing the rest of my frame to be built in. And then same thing on this side, like it's very concave inwards. So it's also causing me to have an inverted sternum, which is something I will definitely get to here after a little while. But it's because it has to do with something, so I'm just going to tie it in later. But my sternum is inverted, and it's also caused my collarbones. My collarbones poke out a lot because of it too. So yeah, there's that, and then the muscles. Muscles is another big part of it. So like all of my back muscles, like I said, constantly like in tension. So I'm just always kind of in a state of in between working out and being sore, like because it's constantly trying to recover from being in tension, but because it's in tension, it's also like straining itself. It's really weird. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's muscles is another big part of it. My neck, I've had to learn to kind of just constantly relax all of this because when I was younger and kind of very first starting to live with it, because again, it wasn't something that became prevalent until I was in like middle school ish, like 7th, 8th grade. Maybe 6th grade, but not as much, that's for sure. So when I very first started to live with it, I was always like shrugging, and I was constantly like trying to pull my shoulders back, and I was always like doing this and like constantly straining to keep it straight because I thought it was like a posture thing. I thought it was something that could at least be helped by posture, when in reality, I was just hurting myself more than anything because posture is just sitting up straight, you know? So me sitting up straight is here. But when I'm also trying to do this and pull everything backwards, which is unnatural for me, it was causing all of this to be strained. And so I'm constantly like doing this, and everything was tight up here, and my friggin' neck and the top of my shoulder, like my traps and stuff. Because I played a bunch of sports growing up, and I still played sports throughout high school and whatnot. And then I realized how much less physically intensive that marching band was, and so I definitely leaned into marching band significantly more the last couple of years of high school. So I in sports, especially with like power clean and like deadlifting and that kind of thing, I always thought, okay, well, because I'm always doing this anyway, should be a breeze. And so that's one thing that I really focused on was that kind of stuff because I thought in my mind, I was like, well, this will help fix my posture. It's like, no, you're just hurting yourself. That's all. So again, it's just little things that I constantly have to like adjust for. And then, like I said, it's just kind of progressively gotten worse, like sort of. It's something I live with every single day, so I don't physically see me changing over time. Like I just know that I have it. So even if it has gotten worse over the past couple of years, I don't know because I don't see it. You know, I see it every single day, and so it's constantly being adapted towards, and then with me doing sports and therefore weights and stuff growing up. And I always did like conditioning camps, and I always did like the like summer weightlifting programs, and I was always at football camp throughout the summers and all that stuff. Because I played football 7th grade through my sophomore year, so I played football for 4 years, like total. Um, I didn't play pee wee football because I was scared, and then I realized you're literally in one of the most protected sports out there. Like you wear more gear in football than pretty much any other sport out there. So starting in junior high, that's when I played. Good old Neodesha, Kansas. Coach Paxson. Uh, but yeah, and so with me doing like summer weightlifting and stuff like that, that's when I came to realize I can't squat normally. And so that was another thing that was like a major adaptation for me. Um, was it started off my freshman year when I moved here to Wichita area. Um, Basically, I ended up just having to front squat everything. And for anybody that does or has done any kind of like weightlifting training or powerlifting in the past, front squatting is ass. Front squatting sucks. Nobody likes it. And so, me having to front squat every single exercise, and I mean every single exercise. It's not just squats, and it's not just squatting. It's uh, good mornings where you put the bar on your back and you like bow forward, and it's like a lower back exercises. Split squats, any kind of split squats, any kind of Bulgarian squats, literally anything that involves you putting a bar on your back, I could not do. Everything had to be done through front squats. And so it really, really hindered. That was a big like mental thing for me. That was a big self-esteem thing for me. Was that because nobody can front squat nearly as much as they can squat on their back. I'm a great example of that. So, with me having to front squat everything, it meant my maxes and stuff whenever it came time to max out and like weights and everything, because that's a very testosterone. I'm a competitive person. I play sports and stuff. I like to think I'm a pretty athletic person, despite everything. um, so when it came time to do maxes and stuff, and my maxes were 40, 50, 60 pounds less than people that were much smaller than me. When I'm sitting here having to work through like bench press and deadlifts, because that was another thing, was bench press. I don't have nearly the same mobility, and so when it came time to bench, I can't bench as much as other people. And so the only two lifts that have ever really like meant anything to me were like hang cleans and deadlifting, because those are the only two that my shoulders didn't really play a role in necessarily. And so yeah, when it came time for like working out, because you always have to work out in groups with people that lift relatively the same amount with you, I'm sitting here like 6 feet tall, 160 pounds, working out with the same dude that's 5'6" and 100 pounds soaking wet. You know how much of a like it sucked. I'll just put it that way. It sucked. But it's what I had to do, And again, it was kind of one of those things like, these are the cards that I'm dealt. I gotta put up with it as much as I hate to. That looks much better. The brown in the last time was very streaky, and it's looking much better this time. If it'll focus. Hide. Focus on that. Anyway, but yeah. So with this one, I wanted to do the dash pad and the glove box in brown. I think that's it, because I'm just going to do silver on the rest of it. So getting into more recent things, it did cause me to have like asthma and stuff, but I also think I just had asthma in general. But there's a good chance having a smaller like chest capacity had a big part to do with that. And it's kind of a saving grace that for some reason growing up, I was obsessed with seeing how long I could hold my breath. That was always a big thing that I worked on a lot for some reason, and I don't really know why. But I think that was the good Lord saying, your lung capacity is hella clapped. Like, you don't have nearly the same amount of lung capacity that you're supposed to have. I'm gonna turn this down. I've decided against it. Bang. I feel like I'm so white. But yeah, I think that was big guy upstairs saying, "Hey, you're gonna have no lung capacity when you get older. Start learning how to hold your breath now." And so I was constantly working on lung capacity. And then fun fact, for those of you who don't know, I actually did summer theater programs growing up as well. And the summer theater director, Mr. Rick Huguenin, he's a gangster for sure. He was always really, really big on projecting your voice because we were in a big old arts community center. We were in the arts center, and he did not put microphones on us. He did not want to strap a bunch of microphones to a bunch of 11-year-olds running around on a stage thinking they're Hollywood actors and actresses, Broadway music stars, you know. He didn't want to put microphones on us, and so he was like, "You're just gonna have to project your voice, learn how to project." And so I think the Lord works in mysterious ways, you know. So I think that was just another big help. I think I was supposed to be part of that stuff growing up because, again, he knew that I was going to have next to no lung capacity after I got older. So learn how to use your lungs and use your diaphragm to your advantage and learn how to project your voice. And I feel like that's another big reason as to why I'm not afraid of like public speaking just in general. YouTube is a big part of that. But yeah, summer theater, as you just gotta put yourself out there and you gotta learn to project, use your voice. God gave you a voice God gave you a diaphragm for a reason. Learn how to use it. So for those of you who like can't use your voice to its full potential, project. Use your diaphragm. Do us all a favor, please. But yeah, so I think a lot of these are just like things that were implemented to me at a young age. Basically like unknowingly preparing me for what I'm going through now. And what I'm going through now is getting into the matter of a lot of today's subject is... Hold on. Yeah, getting into today's subject is kind of what I'm going through now. So the reason I did not stream last week is because I was at the doctor's office. And I went to the doctor's office because I've been pushed by quite a few people, um, because I've come to realize I have an increased heart rate. So the last time I saw a doctor was the summer going into my junior year, aka the summer of 2018, which was, would that have been my sophomore year? Summer of 2018. I graduated 2020. Summer going freshman year. 2020. 19 would have been junior. 18 would have been my sophomore year. Oh God. But yeah, so summer going into my sophomore year. I think it was technically July of 2018 was the last time I saw a doctor. And the last time I saw a doctor, he told me I had a heart murmur. So I kind of didn't want to see him again. Because the last time I went to him, he gave me some news I did not want to hear. I'm going to turn you back up a click. I'm sorry. Sorry to wash out your phone/computer screen, but I also can't see. So, but yeah, so the last time I saw a doctor was summer going into summer of 2018. Summer going into my sophomore year of high school. He tells me I have a heart murmur and I need to go get an ultrasound and get it checked out, all that stuff. So I'd have been like 16 years old, and all that jazz. So my dad and I go in, and it was kind of funny because we were at like an ultrasound slash sonogram clinic. And so everyone in there was either an old woman or a young woman that was pregnant. And then my dad and I walk in there as the only two men in pretty much the entire building. But yeah, so they hook me up to the ultrasound and they start checking around, looking at my heart and stuff. And basically, my murmur, what I was told at the time, is my heart was pushing too much blood for its capacity. So my heart was pretty much overworking itself, and it was trying to push blood past the valves even after the valves were closed, causing the whooshing sound that is associated with a heart murmur. Fast forward almost 5 years, and I go to the doctor last Tuesday, which was probably the post that you saw of me sitting in the family physician's office. And so after sitting down with my doctor, I ask him, which I don't think any of this stuff is technically protected or technically considered private information. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. It's my story. So, but yeah, I go in and talk to my doctor and tell him, I express my concerns for my pretty accelerated heart rate because I've got a coworker that had to go to the doctor a while back for blood oxygen level, and now she has to wear a pulse ox monitor with her. So jokingly, whenever we're at work and stuff, she will check her pulse ox reading because she has to per her doctor's request. So I'll always just check mine out of curiosity just to see see where we're sitting, and we've over the course of a couple weeks of me doing this, probably over like a month by that point, my heart rate was consistently like 115, 120, 125, like very, very fast And that was me just sitting there. There was one time I was just sitting there and I had gotten done just like loading a customer like normal, and which is something I do every day at work. And so I was just loading a customer per usual, and I go in, check my heart rate, and I'm at like 135, 140. Like it is pounding. But I feel fine. Like I don't feel exhausted. I don't feel lightheaded. I'm not out of breath. I'm not like mouth breathing, arms on top of head like the football coaches always said, just in through the nose, out through the mouth. Um, but yeah, I was sitting at like 137. So finally, I see the doctor and I tell him about all this. Well, then he starts with the typical, like, okay, well, do you smoke? Cigarettes? Mary Jane? You do any kind of nose candy? You drinking? Are you partying? You vaping? All that stuff. And I'm a good boy. I spread positivity, which that's another thing that's in the works. So stay tuned for that as well. But I kind of spread the same message as a lot of the like mic'd up cult, on YouTube. You don't necessarily have to drink and do drugs to have a good time. You can just have a good time, I understand some people like the feeling and whatever, but two main things with me, which again, it's kind of a blessing in disguise, is I don't really like the way it makes me feel. I don't like not being in control of my body. And number two, again, you don't have to do drugs and drink and party to have a good time. You can just have a good time, So I'm telling the doctor, these are all the things that like are happening, and he asks me those questions. I tell him no. So then he begins the conversation of, well, how's your diet? How are you eating? What are you eating throughout the day? And joke's on him, this is consistently the most healthy I've eaten in like a very long time, because McChickens were on the menu for a hot minute. McChickens were kind of the thing for a while, and just like iced coffees and stuff like that. Now, on like my lunch breaks, whenever I eat at work or even when I'm home, I ate a ham and cheese sandwich and an apple and a granola bar. Like that's the best thing you could be eating, other than just a friggin' straight up salad. But I told him, yeah, I'm actually eating like fine. Now, do I like to indulge every once in a while? Sure. So does anybody. Carbonara is my favorite food in the world. Like, other than just a good old fashioned potato. Like, potatoes of pretty much any form are pretty much my favorite food, on top of carbonara. So, as my grandfather said, I like food that sticks to my rib cage, which makes it easier because I have a very narrow rib cage, so it makes it easier to stick to. No, I'm joking. But he starts questioning like diet, how are you eating? And I tell him I've actually been eating really well, I think so. So he starts to, I can see him like sitting in the corner, kind of brainstorming a little bit. And he's kind of asking me like, how have your shoulders been? Have your shoulders been giving you more of a problem? And he's still just kind of sitting back in his chair, corner of his office. Like I'm just sitting on the little exam table at the moment. And he asked me that, and I was like, I mean, no, nothing outside of the normal, They always hurt. That always sucks, And he was like, he asked me, well, how's your range of motion? And I just looked at him and said, ass. And I apologized. I was like, sorry. He was like, I'm an adult. I've heard the word ass before. But he was like, mind if I kind of feel around for a second? And he starts like kind of fidgeting with my shoulders, and I can feel him like kind of pressing in on my chest and stuff and telling me to breathe, and then he'll like press on the back side of my shoulders, and he's like feeling my shoulder blades and up here and up on my neck and then down my spine and back of my rib cage and then back up around the front of my, and he's like feeling around. But then I feel him holding his hand on my spine and his hand on my sternum. And he's like going kind of up and down right here. And as he's feeling around, he was like, I've got a theory about something. But I'd like to run a couple tests if you have time. And I was like, well, I mean, today's my day off. Like, I've got nothing but time. I'm kind of just hanging out at the moment. And he was like, okay. So he was like, I'm going to, and then of course he like runs through the regular like physical checkup, like where they like smack your knee and have you go up there. And then he's like looking down my throat, my nose, my ears, all that jazz. Where did I already put it back on there. But he goes through the rest of it. He was like, yeah, I've got a theory, and he holds his stethoscope right up to like my heart and right up to my chest, and he starts listening, and immediately he goes, yeah, your heart murmur has gotten a lot louder. So number one, I'm like, okay, you haven't seen me in 5 years. How do you know that my heart murmur has gotten louder? Friggin' Einstein. Come on now. Like, I understand you're a professional, but 5 years? Be like, oh yeah, it's gotten louder. How do you know? Don't say that. Don't sound so sure. Don't sound so sure. But immediately he says that, and I was like, thanks, Doc. Appreciate it, man. And he's kind of listening around. And he's like, yeah, take a deep breath for me. So like in through the nose, out through the mouth, that kind of thing. And he's kind of listening around on the backside, listening to my lungs and all that stuff. And then he puts it back up to my chest, and he was like, he's holding it like right here, right in the spiral of the new limited edition tie-dye merchandise that's only available. Yeah, I've got the blue one over here too. It's only available for the summer. Detour, quick detour. Make sure you get it while it's hot. And look how beautiful it is. But yeah, so he's like holding it up here around the spiral of the tie-dye. And he goes, take a deep breath and hold your breath for me. So I, just like that. And I hold my breath. And he goes, yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Hell do you mean that's what you were afraid of? What do you mean that's what you were afraid of? Don't say that. You're my doctor. I don't want to hear that. And he goes, yeah, well, I'm afraid that your chest cavity is too narrow, both this way, like this way, and this way. And so you are having problems that your mother and your grandfather do not have. They don't have the same issues that you do, for a couple different reasons. Number one, your grandfather is a very large man, because my grandpa's big. He's about my height in his prime. He was probably an inch or two taller than me, like 6'2", 6'3". But he's a lot larger than me. He's a very big old barrel-chested, corn-fed farm boy from northwest Kansas. Like, he's just a big dude, So, Grandpa, if you're in chat, let me know, and you can agree with me. But yeah, so your grandfather just simply having a bigger frame than you means that his organs have more room to adjust and adapt to your guys' shoulders that you have. On the flip side, your mother, and then he kind of confirmed for me, by the way, your shoulders are worse than both your mom and your grandpa's, which, thanks, Doc, again. It seems to get worse with every generation. But yeah, he was like, your mom has a little bit different advantage than you do, just given the fact that she is a woman. Your mother is smaller than you, just frame wise. Your mom is just not physically as big as you. You know, my mom's like 5'9", I'm 6'1". But then on top of that, just physically, a female's organs just aren't as big. You know, the lungs aren't as big. You don't need as much lung capacity. Heart isn't quite as big as a 6'1", 170-pound, 180-pound grown man. You know, so that's her advantage. You, however, have a double whammy. Not only do you need larger organs because you are an adult man that's 6'1", 170, 180, but you also have a smaller chest capacity than your mother. So he was like, I just want to confirm a few things, and I also want to make sure that you're healthy otherwise. So if you have time, I'm going to have you wait out in the waiting area. I'm going to give that a second. I'm going to have you wait out in the waiting area. And whenever they're ready for you, they'll call you in to get an EKG reading on you. And that's where they basically just take your heart rate and they place leads all over your upper body. It's 10 different leads. All of them read slightly different things, and then you compare them to each other just to make sure everything's in working order. It's kind of a neat process that a lovely lady named Jan explained to me. So I sit out in the lobby, and I'm expecting this to take a while, like everything else at a doctor's office does. So I sit down and I start to get comfortable, and then not freaking 30 seconds later, Jan was like, "Hey Jesse, are you ready for the EKG reading?" And I was like, "Shoot, I mean, I guess, yeah, sure." So they pull me into another room that was right next to my exam room. So now this is technically the third different room I've been in by this point. The first one just being like general height, weight kind of things, which confirmed I'm 6'1", 170 pounds. For anybody that's curious, for those of you who don't know how tall I am, I'm 6'1". Confirmed. It's not just like a gas station confirmation. It's not Ron White. I'm between 5'11" and 6'3", depending on which gas station I'm leaving. But yeah, confirmed by a doctor, 6'1", 170 pounds. But she pulls me in there and she starts hooking up all these EKG leads to me and all that stuff. And got to concentrate because I'm right on the line between the dash pad and for the brown. But yeah, so she's hooking up all these EKG leads to me, and I'm kind of giving her a hard time about it because she keeps she would put one or two on a couple of the different leads and stuff, and then she would go, and then she would move a couple around and she would go, and then she would move one more around back and forth between the stuff, and so I'm giving her a hard time about that, and I'm making jokes with her, cracking laughs, all that jazz, and ooh, that turned out pretty clean. Look at that. That's the top of the dash. Yeah. The camera. Sorry, quick detour. This is my undiagnosed ADHD popping up, but you can see there we have the brown glove box, which I'm gonna touch up. Don't worry. There's the brown glove box and there's the brown dash pad. But you can see the line between the two ended up pretty crispy. So, good deal. No! Don't do that. Don't do that. So she hooks me up and they get the EKG reading, all that stuff. And I asked her, I was like, is the doctor going to want to do lab work on me? And she was like, yeah, probably.
this particular doctor apparently really likes being very thorough on all of his patients. And I mean, I guess if you want to think about it, as a doctor, you want your patients to be around as much as possible because that's just certified like income. If you can keep your patient around as much as possible, means they're more likely to come back and spend more money. But he's a great guy. I don't want to make it seem like he's money hungry or anything. I would much rather prefer a doctor want to do lab work and all of these other things that I'm about to go through than somebody who's like, yeah, your situation kind of sucks. Have a good day. Like that's not something you really want to hear. But they get done with the EKG reading, all that stuff, and they pull me aside afterwards, and the doctor was like, "So, I'd like to do a couple X-rays on you as well as lab work, and I'd like to continue to test kind of my theory that I have on what's going on with you. So I'm going to have you wait out here, and when they're ready for you in the x-ray room, they'll call you in and get you set up." So again, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, this might take a minute. I sit down. 45 seconds later, another girl comes around the corner. She was like, "Jesse, we're ready for you in the x-ray room if you want to follow me." I was like, okay, it sounds good. So I follow her down this little hallway, and they get me set up. They do a couple front on. They do a couple where I'm facing the other way, backwards to it, and then they do one from the side. They do like a side view where he wanted me to like lift my arm up like this, and then they take a view like this way, like horizontally down my body. And so they take the x-rays and all that stuff. And then again, he kind of confirms, yes, we're going to go ahead and do lab work on you. So I go in there, and as they call me in for lab work, the lady, Jan, the sweet old lady, she looks at me and goes, "Jesse, do I need to hold your hand?" And I go, "No, I should be okay, but if I start screaming, you know where to find me." And she was like, "Okay, just let me know, And so, yeah, they take me in for lab, and they do all the blood work and stuff, and that's, God. I like the way my grandma put it. The person was kind of lazy in the way they were doing it because they had to do 2 different vials for their lab. And so when she got done with the first one on me, she like goes to swap out the vials and like freaking lays it down against my arm. So now the part that's in my arm pulls up, and I like, God dang, like that. And she just goes, "Sir, please try not to tense up." And I was like, "Okay, I'm sorry." So they pull blood for lab work and all that, and tell me, yeah, the results for my lab will be in within a few days, and they send me back out to the waiting area. Well, that's where the hard conversation comes into play. The doctor basically told me the issue is in my entire chest cavity, there is 10 centimeters of space between my chest and my spine. And for those of you who only use American units, bald eagle talons, that's only 4 inches of space. There's 4 inches of room between my chest and my spine for heart, lungs, esophagus, trachea, diaphragm, tube going down, stomach, all of this, everything that's up here, 4 inches. It's like this. And again, that's on the inside. So if you look at it from a side view, it looks like there's a lot more. But when you think about the fact that my sternum is, where's it good? Here. We're going to use this so that you can actually see it. Bang, green. This is my sternum, okay? You can see it all the way against there. And your heart is supposed to be like here-ish, like left. You have your left breast, bang, heart. So sternum, that's how far it goes in. This is my chest, all the way in here. So that, from your perspective, is like here. That's how far in my chest goes compared to the rest of me, you know. So between the inside, so past skin, muscle, bone, 4 inches. There's 4 inches of space. That's about like this much. So you have to fit heart, lungs, esophagus, trachea, diaphragm, all in this zone right there. So it was a rough conversation. And he said, this is kind of what I was thinking was going to be your issue. And so there's a good chance you'll have to have what's called chest expansion surgery. And chest expansion surgery is exactly what it sounds like. They cut open your chest, sternum. They cut open your sternum and they expand it, and then they brace it open with metal rods and leave it in there for a couple years to help it heal. I haven't seen whether or not you actually have to take them out at any point, or if it's just kind of there, you know. But then he started saying something I really didn't want to hear. I really didn't want to hear most of what he had to say. But he said, the problem is because of my Sprengel syndrome and the way it affects the rest of my upper body, there is a thoracic specialist here in Wichita, but there's a good chance that nobody in Wichita is going to have the expertise nor the facilities to do that extensive of a surgery, because my case is very, very different than most people. So I kind of filled in the blanks for him, and I asked, I'm going to have to go to KU Med, aren't I? And he was like, yes, but there is the off chance that KU Med, which is an internationally recognized medical center, mind you, as far as like life-changing surgeries are concerned. I have multiple family members that have had to have life-changing surgeries at KU Med. I've got a cousin that had a cleft palate problem, and so she, as a baby, had cleft palate surgery and all that stuff. I've also got an uncle who was in a car accident, and he had to have literal facial reconstruction surgery and like skin grafting, and like his nose, his entire nose area is pretty much made of plastic now. But again, this is an internationally recognized medical institute, and the fact that my doctor told me that there's a chance that they could deny me because of the extent of my surgery. Not something you want to hear. But he said the problem is it's something I have to start considering now, or like as soon as possible, because of it's not just the inverted sternum, it's everything that is causing me the problems that I'm having now. So the issue is, he said that I either need to start considering this now or very, very soon, or these are things that could turn into major complications by the time I'm 40 or 50. Not something you really want to hear at 21 years old. And Rodolfo? I'm not sure who Rodolfo is, but hello, Rodolfo. Welcome to most of the way through this story. But yeah, so it's this is something that could turn into a like big time medical complication by the time I'm like 40 or 50. So it's something I'm definitely getting the ball rolling on now. Now that I've already had my exams and beginning like tests and stuff like that. Now I'm waiting for like my lab results came in, and even though we knew it wasn't necessarily like a like cholesterol issue or anything like that, I don't have any kind of heart problems. I don't have any like outside of what I've already got. And that was the really funny thing about the whole visit is after he said everything and talked about my like horrible medical complications, he was like, yeah, but otherwise you're pretty healthy. I'm like, thanks, doc. Appreciate that. So I definitely have a long road ahead of me as far as all of this is concerned. I've got a lot of people that support me and a lot of people that are there for me. And of course, I always appreciate it. And so I'm glad I have the people around me that I do, both friends and family, because like I said, this is going to be a very long journey, and you guys are actually some of the first people to hear about this. It's something that is definitely going to be covered. I'm definitely going to talk about it on the channel, and I'm definitely going to try to find a way to integrate it into the videos. I don't want my whole channel just to turn into a woe is me pity party about all of my like medical complications. And really, this is probably the most in-depth I'm ever going to talk about it on my channel. But yeah, so it is something that this channel, as big or as small as it may get, is part of me and it's part of my life. And you guys, looks like 7 people that are currently watching right now. You guys are part of my life as well, on this virtual life. So I'd like to keep you guys along for the ride. I'm definitely going to find a way to integrate it into videos. I will keep you guys posted as much as possible, and I will definitely bring you along to as much of it as medical professionals will allow me. I know there are some things that I just won't be able to talk about, but my goal by the end of all of this is something that I actually only came to the realization of literally like 10 minutes before I started streaming. And that is the realization that because of my YouTube, oh my God, I can't. That's another thing about these shoulders. Anytime my arm is being supported by something, if you keep seeing this throughout stream, it's because I can't lift my arm up that high. So anytime it falls off of something, I gotta try and catch it. But anyway, like 10 minutes before stream, I realized that because of me and because of how I am and because of this YouTube channel, there's a good chance I'm going to be the most well-documented case of Sprengel syndrome ever. At least up to this point. Like, I'm going to be the most well-documented case of Sprengel syndrome in the world. In fact, this right here is probably the most about Sprengel syndrome that all of you guys watching are ever going to know about. I'm going to be the only thing about Sprengel syndrome that you know about, not unless you want to go Google it yourself, which I know if I say don't Google it, you're going to do it anyway. So let me just spare you, because I know you're going to look it up anyway. If you Google Sprengel syndrome, it's really weird because it's the medical definition for when one scapula is higher than the other. So if you look up Sprengel syndrome and you find pictures of Sprengel syndrome, it's a bunch of kids from like 1940 or whatever. They're all like black and white, or it's all just like old ass textbook pictures and stuff. But it's a bunch of kids that are all like Frankensteined out like this. And it's weird because when I tell people I have Sprengel syndrome, like, this isn't what I have. I don't have one shoulder that's friggin' 3 inches higher than the other. Both of my shoulders are like this. So it's definitely a very unique case from everything that I can find. So I don't know if mine would, if my case / my mom's case / my grandpa's case would technically have a different name for it, or if there is a name for it. If there's not a name for it, I would like to put in stone now that it is called Bussy syndrome from now on, or Jesse's shoulders or something like that. But anyway, I'm saying it now. I'm gonna be the most well-documented case of Sprengel's and or Jesse Bussy's shoulder syndrome that has ever existed, which is kind of a neat feeling, you know. It's kind of like when it's like when the conjoined twins, Brittany and Courtney or whatever their names were. You all saw the pictures and stuff from like 10, 15 years ago, where it was the two girls that were like joined all the way up to their neck, and it was like two girls' heads out like this. But yeah, they were one of the only people that was really like that. They were very, very different than most other cases of conjoined twins that were around at the time. And so they are by far the most well-documented version of, or case, I guess technically, most well-documented case of conjoined twins in our lifetimes, that's for sure. But yeah, so that's kind of my end goal. And it's kind of an awareness thing. It says it's a pretty rare thing. I don't know like numbers off the top of my head of how many people have it, or if there are very many people around that have it. But it is something that, again, it's part of me, so therefore it's going to be part of this channel, and I will do my best to implement it without making it annoying. Yes, I am a very car-focused person, and cars are definitely going to be at the top of the list as far as content is concerned, and that's just the way it's always going to be. But there will be updates, and you guys will definitely get the scoop on what's going on with all of this, especially now that I'm on this like medical journey. So it's gonna be a good time. It'll I keep telling myself everything's going to be fine. You know, I know everything will be fine by the time everything's said and done. But like I said, I've just got a long road ahead of me, and it's probably gonna suck here for a while, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it. All right. I'm finishing up these seats really quick. I was going to try and work on the dash, but I've also been live for like an hour now. And as previously stated at the top of the stream, this is like the third or fourth week in a row that I've tried working on this interior. It's definitely come a lot farther. I could probably go ahead and glue the seat backs to the actual seats. And get those in place. And this back seat is actually turning out really well. Yeah. It's still wet, so it's kind of hard to see. Also, I'm thinking about cutting off my hair, and this stream is just making that decision even easier to make. Because it keeps getting and like tickling my mouth and tickling my cheek and tickling my eyes and tickling my nose and all that stuff. I'm going to cut my hair off. But before I end stream, I just want to say that my grandpa said something very funny today, and I would like to reiterate it so that you guys can hear it too. I am not doing this for sympathy. I do not want sympathy points. It is more of an awareness thing. So I am a pretty like happy person in general, but I've also lived by this word, and that word is, thought I was gonna get cornrows. Dude, I might get cornrows and then cut my hair off. I think that might be the move. Or I just shave like the sides, because that's kind of what I want to go for. I definitely like switch topics there, but I'm probably gonna shave the sides, get cornrows, and then I'll just cut the rest of it. The style I really want is called a mid-taper mullet. So it's not quite a mullet. It's almost closer to a mohawk, or like if any of you know who Eric Hosmer, the baseball player, is. It's kind of like an Eric Hosmer haircut, kind of. But then I'll get the cornrows. Steph, don't worry. I'm gonna get cornrows. But yeah, so I'm not doing this for sympathy, and my grandpa said something hilarious today that I'd like to reiterate. If somebody's looking for sympathy, tell them they can find it in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. And so I'm not doing this for sympathy. It's definitely more of an awareness thing. This is more of an awareness thing, again, along the lines of the word sonder. So sonder basically just means everybody's living their own life, and everybody has an equally difficult and complicated life of their own. Every car that passes you on the road, every lit up window that you see driving down the highway, every single one of them, that person has an equally difficult and complicated life of their own. And the hardest thing you've been through may not be, or like the hardest thing I've been through may not be as hard as the hardest thing you've ever been through, but it also doesn't take away from the fact that it is the hardest thing I've ever been through. And this is definitely up there. And so that's part of the awareness of it, is like I said, I'm a pretty positive person for the most part, but that also doesn't mean that I don't have struggles of my own. And again, I'm not looking for sympathy. Again, it's just an awareness thing. But then the other thing is like, this is my case, and what I have is not something that is documented very much. And it's a pretty rare thing, especially for it to be in both shoulders. Man, that turned out clean as hell. See that? I'm not gonna lie, these back seats kind of looked like ass last stream, but man, those turned out really nice. Looks really good. So like if we look at it from like on the car, do like this, and then we do like that. That's how it's gonna look inside the car. Ooh, that is tough. That is tough. Man, that looks really good. That looks really good. This is really coming along. I like this. This was a pretty productive stream. I like that. So that sits in there like that. And this will sit in here like this. I know I said it 2 weeks ago. Again, I missed last week because of all the medical stuff. It's okay. I'm back this week. Y'all are seeing me now. But man, reveal, like mini reveal anyway. That's what the interior looks like right now. Let me see if I can go like. You guys see that? Do you see that? Look at that, man. Woo! Oh, that is tight. So just imagine, I'm going to turn you back up. Just imagine the door panels too. Those are also going to be black and brown. I've already done like the door handles. I just want you to focus. But yeah, and it's just washing it out. Whatever. But just imagine how great this interior is going to look. I might try and I said it 2 weeks ago. It's all good. I might try and do this off camera just to see how it turns out, because I've got an idea of how I want to do it. It's just going to take a little time, especially going around all of the little like door handles and stuff that you can't see. But if I hold it all the way up there, you can kind of see it a little better. And like I said, the camera's mirrored, so if I go to the left, it goes the opposite direction on camera, so it's kind of hard to look at. But, so, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you to everybody that's still in here. My stream goal was 15 likes, and right now we're at 0. So none of you guys listened. All of you guys failed. You did not understand the assignment. But it's okay, because I'll be back next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Like always, set your calendar. Set yourself an alarm. Set Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Minus last week, I'm going to be here. Trust me. So, appreciate everybody that's still watching. Again, Shag and Wagon tie-dye merchandise, only available for the summer. We got black. We got blue here. Yeah. Blue tie-dye. Looks great. This one's dirty because I wore it during one of the videos I was filming, but it's okay. But yeah. So, I'm going to go and call it there.